Hello, everybody. All right. So I hope this is working okay. I'm on Rachel's computer because mine died today out of nowhere. So I hope it sounds okay. Okay, good. I'm glad it's working. I might be flying solo today, but it's not feeling particularly great. And I'm pretty tired myself. So we'll see how long we go. I still wanted to be here for you all, committed to it. So here I am, but I'm going to be straight up with you. I'm really tired. So here we go. All right. Yeah, it was so weird. My computer, like, I fired it up this morning. It seemed okay. I think there's a problem with the logic board or something. It's only a couple months old, but, the thing just pooped out on me today. So thankfully, I have a phone and I have, some other ways to work around it, but it's crazy. How has business been lately? It's been okay. We're kind of getting back into the groove of things. We're like maybe 5 or 6 days behind on orders. So we're getting pretty close to our target of 1 to 2 day turnaround, which is normally our target. COVID has really adjusted things for us ever since March. But we're slowly getting caught back up. Not slowly, actually, our team's working quite fast, but that's where we're at. Yes, I'm getting comments about the hair. So I have not cut my hair yet, but I think it's going to be soon. I had one video that I was working on about using fountain pens at home when you're at home for extended periods of time. And I needed my hair to be long to complete some of the additional B-roll shots for that video. But anyway, I got those done. So I think that's now complete. And my hair is gone and it's like the bangs are curling over and it's just gone. It's gotten out of control. But anyway, take a last glorious look because probably next week when I do this broadcast, my hair is going to be a lot shorter. So anyway, let's see here. Let's see what kind of questions you got. All right, Sharon wants to see the Wicked Witch pen, please. I do have that, so I will be showing that. But let me see what else we got that came in. Okay. All right. Okay. Forgive me. Well, I can't read and talk at the same time. What are your thoughts on the Omos pens you own? I don't have a ton of Omos pens, but the ones that I own now, because Omos is no longer around anymore, I'm kind of paranoid to use them because I don't want to break them or anything. So, when I have pens that I know are irreplaceable to a degree, I'm less inclined to want to use them. So I do use them every now and then, but it's always extremely carefully. I don't like carry it around with me or anything just because I know I can't get it fixed or anything if I do get in a bad situation. So I have them. I enjoy them. I love the way they write. They have great nibs. But yeah, that's how I feel about Omos. Let's see here. Okay. Skip says, I'm a loyal Goulet customer. I'm waiting for Wicked Witch 1911 L broad. How come so many other pen dealers have this online before you? I would never buy this from others, but what's your reasoning? It could be a number of reasons. Some people take pre-orders. So it may not be that they actually have them in yet, but they know that they're coming. So they allow you to place a pre-order. We don't do that because we've had bad experiences in the past. And, sometimes we get shorted on stock, at the last minute, even though we've ordered it and been promised it, even we don't get what we ordered. And we'd feel really terrible if we sold you something and then we didn't even get it in. And then we've just had so many instances of stock shortages where that's happened, in the past. Not that we've done pre-orders in the past, but stock shortages where we haven't gotten what we thought we were going to get, that if we had pre-ordered, we would have been up a creek. So we don't like to do that personally. No judgment for anyone who does, but it's just not our style. So that could be part of it. Sailor is distributed by Atoya, which is in California, which is clear across the other side of the country from us. So it's very possible that another retailer could physically be closer to the distributor and they get their shipment before we do. When we have shipments coming from the East Coast, we get them quicker. It just kind of works out like that. So it's just sometimes there's a few days lag. So that could be an explanation. It could also be because, sometimes when there's a pen like this, especially it's really hot and we're not exactly sure if the color of the stock image is going to be completely accurate. We want to verify that. We might actually wait to launch it until we get it in, get to verify it, check through some of the stock, just make sure that it's as we expect. That way, if we do need to photograph it or update it or have any kind of disclaimer of any kind, that could be it. But in this instance too, we also waited because we wanted to do a timed launch. And the reason for that is because we are not going to be getting enough pens to meet what we feel the demand is going to be. So we made an intentional choice to sell it later than other people because we wanted everyone to have an opportunity at the same time to be able to purchase it. So anyway, number of variety of factors that can come in when we launch things like that, especially if they're really hot items. Not that this is like a one and done, but it's probably going to be another month before we get more pens in or so. And so we just want to make sure that we are going about it the right way, the fairest way possible. All right, let's see here. Oh gosh, there's so many questions. I guess I can't take that long answering questions, huh? And then I have to scroll up and I lose my place. Oh my gosh. Do we have the new SD Sparkle? I don't have it with me here. I think it might be at our office getting photographed or a sample or something. It is for sale? Okay, I haven't seen it in person yet for myself. I stopped in briefly at the office today, but I did not get to see it for myself. But yes, apparently we do have it, but I don't have it here to show you today. Let's see here. Okay, let's see here. Amanda S. says, Brian, what do you say to someone who doesn't understand your expensive or fancy hobby? I know I shouldn't have to explain myself, but sometimes I feel like I need to. I have given up trying to explain fountain pens to people that just completely don't understand. Pretty much everybody has some obscure thing that they're into. And you can pretty much go down the road of, if you know the person well enough, you can be like, yeah, okay, fountain pens seem crazy to me, but somebody might be driving a vehicle that was like 5 times more than you would ever pay for a vehicle, and that they justify that in their minds perfectly fine, but then a pen is too expensive. It could be any number of things. Somebody could have clothes, they could have some other obscure hobby that they're super into where they easily justify the price. So all you really got to say is, hey, you know what? It's my thing. I'm really into it, and I appreciate what's into it. And you can go into more depth and detail if you want. But for me, it's usually, when I start talking about these pens, I just say, it's a niche hobby. There's a lot of craftsmen that are, behind these products and making them. And it's just like anything else. It's like if you are really into, I don't know, designer clothes or something like that, part of what you're paying for is that, intentionality and the person behind the brand and stuff like that. So you could make some similar kind of pairing or judgment, to something else that somebody might relate to. But honestly, don't feel like you have to justify it because if somebody is coming at you like, how could you possibly pay that much for a pen? You're not going to convince them, otherwise, because they basically have already made up their mind that it's too expensive, and you can't really win that conversation. You just got to be like, yeah, I know it's crazy, but I really enjoy it. And if when you get into it, you kind of start to understand, where these prices come from. So they'll either understand it or they won't, but usually you can't turn somebody around if they come at you straight out the gate with that kind of judgment. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. Hey, Zachary, what's up? All right, okay. All right. Tajinder says, is there a difference between the Namiki Emperor with the golden rings and the regular Emperor? In terms of writing experience, can you compare the Emperor and the Crystal Dream? Hope you feel better. Well, thank you. Okay, so the difference between the Namiki Emperor with the golden rings and the regular Emperor is the golden rings. From what I understand, it's pretty much just the trim. So, I haven't seen the pens for myself to really compare, but I believe it's the trim that makes that difference. It's just a little more embellishment. And as far as the writing experience between an Emperor and a Crystal Dream, oh boy, I don't have an Emperor, so my experience is somewhat limited. I've not written with them extensively. The Emperor is a larger nib. It's basically the biggest commercially made nib that you can get. It's going to be a little bit softer softer, though the Crystal Dream, those Visconti nibs are relatively soft anyway. The main difference is going to be just the size of the darn thing. You can't hold it as close to the grip, just because the length of that nib. But they're both really smooth. They're both really wet flowing. They're going to be both really enjoyable writing experiences. I think in terms of the grinds, they're going to be a little bit different because Namiki's grinds, they tend to go a little finer on the finer nibs. But I don't even know that they have an extra fine on that Emperor nib. I can't recall. I think it's just fines. And a lot of them are fine mediums or broads. So, you might actually, if you get an extra fine Visconti, that might actually be closer to like a fine on the Emperor. So writing experience is going to be somewhat similar, but the consistency Viscontis have really been pretty good, especially since I switched to those 18 carats with those Bach nibs. Really pretty good overall. So I'm trying to recall from memory the Emperor and what differences it might be between a Visconti. I'm not recalling a whole lot. Both of them are very pleasant writing experiences for me. I think a lot of it just comes down to, kind of the aesthetic, the overall size of the nib, and then, of course, the rest of the pen. Okay, let's see here. So Felix says, what ink would you recommend for normal paper? I'm assuming you mean like non-fountain pen friendly paper, like pretty absorbent stuff. This is a tough one because it really depends on the paper that you're using, and it depends on the nib and your handwriting pressure. So basically it has to do with how much ink is being put down. But if all else is equal, you can assume that the type of ink that you use will make a difference. Pilot Orochizuku is generally a pretty good performer. Honestly, a lot of the inks that come from fountain pen manufacturers tend to generally do pretty okay on non-fountain pen friendly paper. Think Pelikan 4001, just the regular Pelikan ink tends to be pretty dry. That's some of the driest ink that I know of, just to speak kind of of a whole brand. There's other ones like Noodler's X Feather, tends to be better. It's designed X Feather, it's to not feather, right? And so that tends to generally be pretty good. Noodler's Heart of Darkness is often recommended as well. Noodler's Black is pretty good. These are all black inks, of course. But Lamy inks tend to be pretty good. Pilot inks, a number of Sailor inks, but I have not tested Sailor inks extensively for myself on normal paper. So yeah, I think that there's a number of them. I think when you tend to get to the extremely saturated dyes of some of the boutique ink sellers, that's where things can start to get a little crazy on normal paper. All right, Sabin says, what pens have you recently been using? So for me, we've now that, a lot of our supply chain is starting to normalize again. A lot of our distributors are shipping again. Manufacturers are starting to release things again. We're not in the clear on COVID by any means, but it does seem that a lot of new products are coming out again. So a lot of what I've been messing around lately has been newer stuff, samples that have been coming in, stuff that I've been showing you all every week. Sailor Rialo, I have the Wicked Witch of the West to show you here. Let's see here. I have some samples of other brands that I can't mention that I've been playing with. I did the Nibnook for the Platinum Curidas. And I actually shot a video of me doing the Diplomat. That video is going to be coming out relatively soon. It's in the editing process right now. So I'm messing around with that one. A bunch of different Sailor pens. So I think you'll have some good stuff. Oh, hey, dear. Are we talking about this?
If you want to. I haven't put them on the site yet, but it's going to later this week.
Okay.
Up to you.
Rachel just handed me so Tatcha pens are ones that we've been playing with.
You love new brands.
You love new brands, and do have some of those. So this isn't on the website yet, so please don't bombard my team with questions yet, because I don't want them to get upset for me showing something that's not on the site yet. But we do have a couple of new Tatcha pens. So this is a brand that we've actually been pursuing for a little bit. They are also distributed through Itoya, which is our Sailor distributor. So as we, opened up relationships with them, we've been focusing on Sailor because that was a launch we've been prepping for a while. But we had Tatcha kind of next in line. And so there we go. So we have the Tatcha, two pens. 2 pen models that they have. I'm failing to recall the name. Again, I'm extremely tired and names escape me entirely. Spectrum and Spotlight. There we go. Rachel's yelling from across the room. So I have some of those. Really nice two-tone nibs. They write really great. These are all steel nibs.
Yeah, some of them are gold.
Some are gold, that's right, because there's two different versions. Okay. But anyway, so nice little two-tone nib going on in this one. Very solid pens, nice writing nibs. Nibs are made in Japan by Sailor. So there you go. So those are going to be coming soon. We'll have more information on those. So these are some of the things that I've been testing, playing around with, though clearly not remembering much of what I'm doing. Okay. Let's see here. Daniel Gray says, every pen review I see, they say they love their pens. I don't know if you're talking about me specifically, but that is generally kind of true. I tend to love whatever it is that I'm actually using, though that's not necessarily true with everything. Cecilia says, weight comparison between Visconti's Homosapiens Crystal Dream and other versions. We have exact specifications for weight and measurements and everything on our site. If you look under the technical specs, I do not recall from memory what the exact gram weight is of the Crystal Dream. But to my touch, it's very similar in weight to a regular Homo sapiens. It's going to be maybe a couple of grams difference, but overall it's going to be in that like 35 gram range somewhere. And you probably won't notice a huge difference in weight between one Homo sapiens and another. So I think if you like the weight of the regular Homo sapiens, you're going to like the weight of this one too, but it's not significantly heavier or lighter from my perception. All right, is Monteverde in Nova ink the same as Monteverde Midnight Black? Oh, that's a good, I don't think so. I don't remember what color it is, honestly.
It's like a gray black.
Gray black. I don't know what other color it equates to. I don't know if it's its own color or what, but I don't think it's the exact same as that Midnight Black. Will there be 2020 summer Edison pens? Good question. Yeah, I mean, we're still working on that kind of stuff. Edison got severely backlogged with COVID stuff, but there's going to be stuff that's in the works that's going to be coming out. Can't share yet, but it's coming. Daniel says, what pens don't you like? Not a huge fan of the Lamy CP1. It's very thin. Generally, thin pens are just not for me. I'm not into thin pens and generally not hugely into short pens. So, I mean, they have their place. They can be fun like pocket pens and stuff like that. But generally, that's not my thing. I'm not a huge fan of clipless pens either, just kind of as a general rule. Just because I don't know, I'm very messy and I have stuff on my desk all the time. And if I have clipless stuff, I tend to like knock them off my desk all the time. So I like the clips on the pens to keep them firmly in place when they're laying down on my desks. That's just some very general statements there. Super heavy pens are not necessarily my favorite, or pens that are really, really long and back weighted when posted. Not my absolute favorite, because I do generally like to post my pens when I write. And that just gets a little tough for me when I'm trying to write like that. Like the Homo sapiens, honestly, I love to write with that pen. And because the body is so long, I do like to write with it unposted, but I can't really post that pen. It's just a little too awkward. Same with like a Twizy 580, and things like that. It's just, it's got to be the right thing. But, generally I do like those pens, but, obviously those are ones I like, but yeah, there we go. All right, let's see here. What else? Did I get the Retro 51 under the radar? Harold asks. I did keep one for myself, selfishly. That was really tough. They sold out in like 4 minutes, but I did keep one for myself just because the SR71 Blackbird was my favorite plane as a kid. So I kind of had to keep one. I have not been keeping every single Retro 51 that's been coming out since they announced their closure. I've wanted to, it has to be a pen that I really kind of want and appreciate. I'm not just like keeping as a steadfast rule. I've totally could, but I know that they're in such short supply and everybody wants them. I'm trying only to keep the ones that are really special to me. All right, let's see here. Ben asked, what have been the pens that you've been reaching for the most while you've been at home? I kind of mentioned this earlier. A lot of it's been newer stuff, mainly because I'm so busy and frazzled with the kids and trying to remote work with everybody. And we got new products coming in. There's a lot of just stuff coming and going. It's really it's a stressful time for us still, even though, COVID is not as unknown as it has been in the past couple of months. It's kind of a grind. It's kind of a grind for us managing things at home. So I honestly just do not have as much like luxurious time to just kind of sit there and journal and stuff like. It's not a part of my reality. So I have to utilize my time pretty efficiently in terms of what it is I'm writing with and stuff like that. And a lot of that is the newer stuff because, that's stuff that it's not really out there yet. People don't really know. So I'm trying to familiarize myself with things because we tend to be able to get our hands on things first. So that's more what I'm trying to know. Have we heard anything about the Inkvent calendar this year? I have not. Francis says, would you consider selling your Monograppa shiny lines? Do you have an extra to sell? Nope. I'm not getting rid of that pen. That one's too special to me. We do not have extra to sell. We had a number of them. They sold, and we have not had any since. It's a bummer. I'm sorry. All right. Marianne says, order the 18th, ship today. There you go. That's awesome. Was that 6 days right there? So yeah, we're pretty much right there. And we were, we had a 3-day weekend too. So we're really trying to push and get more or less caught up. All right, let's see here. All right. Okay, Restocking. Okay. All right, why is the Wicked Witch 14 karat instead of 21 karat less? That's a great question, Les. We're going to get into that right now. The answer is it's both. So there's two different sizes of the Wicked Witch. Both are the 1911s, but there's a 1911S, the smaller one, which has a 14 karat nib. And there's a 1911L, the larger one, which has a 21 karat nib. Objectively, they write fairly similar. I honestly don't see a huge difference. The 21 karat is going to be a little bit softer. It's a little larger nib, but here it is. It's a dark purple pen, very dark, but it does have some translucence too. You can see it here kind of in the lid of the cap, just a bit, some of that translucence. Aside from that, unless you're basically shining a light through the pen, you don't really see a whole lot. It's not like a demonstrator. You're not going to see the ink sloshing back and forth. But if you do like just kind of that hint of translucence, I would say it's probably in like the 10 to 15% range of translucence, if I had to completely just make up a number. But anyway, so there you get a sense of it. Again, this is a live stream video. You're going to basically get the worst color rendition you possibly could. But our photos on the website are pretty accurate. We have photographed this pen ourselves, so it's a good one. So I am very pleased with how this one turned out. It doesn't have any swirl. It doesn't have any sparkle or anything like that to it. It's just a plain black or purple, deep purple pen. Not a lot of pink to it. It's really a purple that leans maybe just a little bit gray. And some of that might be a little bit of an optical illusion because it's got that black ion trim, which if you can see that. So it's kind of like a ruthenium looking, maybe just a tad darker than most other ruthenium. It's called black ion, but typically you pay more for Sailor to do these darker trims. But, this is a North American exclusive, and Atoya in the US wanted to keep this pen priced at the normal trim. So good on them. This is, it still costs more to do this trim, but they wanted to keep the price accessible. So I think that's part of what the demand for this pen is normally get that trim, especially with that kind of stealthy look. You would pay like $50 more just to get this trim, but they're keeping that price down. So it's pretty exciting. I personally went for the zoom nib. I went for the 1911L just because I like that bigger size. The 1911L is a good size for me. The S is just a little small. It's just a little small. And then I got the zoom nib because I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. Sailor's the only one that has that, so I dig it. And I like really broad wet writing pens too. So I'll try and keep that in the shot just so you can ooh and ah over it. But there you go. There's the Wicked Witch. John says it's good to be the king. I don't know about that, but I'm very fortunate. Okay. So Kind of Stylish says, do you think Pilot will ever make a prettier version of the 823? I really want the pen, but I just can't get past how business-like they look. Is the nib really that worth it? It is a rather business-like looking pen. I'll give you that. I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it's a very conservative pen. Let me pull it out just in case some of you out there don't know what I'm talking about. So here's a Pilot Custom 823. I'll put the Wicked Witch down. Custom 823. This is the amber one. This is kind of the OG. There's a smoke one as well, which is still rather businesslike. But yes, it's a very classic kind of professional looking pen. So I get it. It's not necessarily for everybody, but it's a great writing pen. It's a resin pen, so it's not super heavy, but the metal components inside it, because of that vacuum system, do give it a little bit of weight and makes it really nicely balanced. That's one thing I really like about most vacuum fillers, is you don't end up with a cookie balance. You end up like with a very kind of sturdy weight that just drops the pen kind of right down in the middle of your hand. So I think that's part of it, just the balance, the feel of it, and because of that too, it's got a little bit more weight in the body. So even though it's a longer pen, if you write with it posted, the cap sits down a little bit on the back of the pen, and a lot of the weight still stays kind of balanced towards the front. So it's a very comfortable pen to write with posted, at least in my experience, because I'm a serial poster. But yeah, I think the nib is just really good. Pilot has fantastic nibs, as all the Japanese brands do, honestly. Very consistent, smooth flowing. These are a little bit springier. These are going to be softer generally than Sailor's nibs. This is kind of how they do it. Yeah, I think, the Pilot nibs, they're very, very good. So to me, they're worth it, but it's not the most cheapest affordable pen in the world. So I do understand the hesitation. Do they make a prettier version of it? They have some solid color versions in Japan, but the trim and stuff is exactly the same. It's basically just a solid color. There's some slightly different colors, but they're still pretty business-like. They don't have any like really, really crazy cool kind of colors. I think about like Twizy's got some cool like translucent purples and stuff like that. This is what I would love to see, some 823s and stuff like this. But to my knowledge, nothing like that is out there. All right, let's see what else we got. Ed says, my Lamy 2000 is a fine nib, which is comparable in the Diplomat Aero. Lamy 2000, their fine nib is unique. It's unique to their pen. So it's going to have a little more of a sweet spot, but it's going to be generally pretty similar to a fine nib on a Diplomat Aero. Their Lamy's 2000 nib is rather stiff. So even though it's a gold nib, it's going to write like a well-polished steel nib. So I think if you went with a Diplomat Aero fine nib, that's going to be the closest to it. If you do want to go to, because some of the Diplomat Aeros have 14 karat gold nibs as well, maybe a fine nib, but they're going to write just a little bit wet. So you may want to go extra fine if you're going with the 14 karat on the Aero. Hey, Ellie. Ellie, let's not do a lot of bows tonight, sweetie.
Not a lot.
Because I'm trying to read and I'm going to get super distracted. Okay. So let's pick like maybe 5. Okay.
Okay.
She really wants to put bows in my hair. So we'll do a few. You also need to get to sleep, sweetheart. Okay. I will do my best to try to read still while she's jazzing me up. All right. Let's see here. Madeline says, can I swap a Goulet nib onto my Aero, Diplomat Aero, and how does the nib and feed come out? Yes, you can swap the nib because it's a standard number 6 Yovo nib, which is going to be identical on both pens. So I don't have a Goulet nib, a spare Goulet nib handy, but I do have the Diplomat Aero here. This is the Antique Pink. The nib and feed just pulls out of the pen like so. It's a friction fit. This is so difficult to do with the kids here. It's friction fit. It's a little tight when you first do it, but they'll come out. And then basically, if you buy a Goulet nib, this is essentially what you're buying, just with some different imprinting and stuff like that. And Diplomat may have tuned their nibs slightly differently from the factory, but they're both made by Yovo, so they're going to be able to switch and swap with each other. You do have to put it back in a specific orientation when you're doing it. There we go. Because it's kind of like contoured inside there. I can't show it. It's just not going to be detailed enough on the webcam. But there you go. That is basically how you do it. Yep, Joseph agrees. You guys are supposed to be in bed.
Mommy said
said I could do this right now.
Okay. Laura says your hair evolution has been a joy to watch. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. But I'll be honest, I'm getting kind of sick of it. It's untamable and it's getting really, really hot. So when I try to like go bike riding in 95 degrees and have my helmet on and it's like all sticking out and like poking in my ears, it's just getting old. So it's been fun, but I'm ready to move on.
Pens?
Nothing, dear.
Then why are you saying it?
Because people are asking me about it. All right.
Okay.
Anthony 570 says, started collecting knives and watches, then fountain pens. Do you have any pocket knives? I have 2 pocket knives. I have one Benchmade 530, I think it is, that my father-in-law gave me for Christmas several years ago. This has been my daily carry pocket knife just because I'm constantly opening up cardboard boxes and, doing all kinds of stuff. So I use it. It's handy for that. It's very lightweight. I like it. The other one I have is, I don't even remember the brand, but it was a gift. It was actually a gift. If you've ever heard of knifecenter.com, they're an online knife retailer, kind of like Goulet Pens is a fountain pen retailer. They're an online knife retailer, and they're about 45 minutes off the road from us. So we actually went and toured their facility, and they gave me a knife. So that was kind of cool. But I've carried it, but it's heavier, and I don't like to carry it as much as I like this one. Okay, let's see. Ooh, I'm getting behind. All right. Do you know if the new Sailor cartridges they have been promoting with the cases that look like the little books will be available in the U.S.?
August.
Rachel says August.
Not talk about it today. August.
Oh, those are the ones that came out today. Okay, yeah. So they just announced those today. They're coming out in August. $6 for 3 cartridges. It's a little pricey, but if you want them, they're around there. That's true. It is kind of standard, but you pay a lot more for cartridges than you do for bottled ink. But they will be available, and the packaging is pretty cool. So we will be carrying that. We'll be carrying not all the colors, but we'll have a bunch. All the most popular ones. All right. Kind of stylish. Does the black ion nib write any differently than a normal 21 karat or 14 karat nib? No, not really. The ion, it's a plating. It's sort of like an electroplating. It's super, super, super thin plating. I mean, it's ionized and stuff like that. So it's a very durable plating, but at the same time, it's very thin. And when they do the adjustments and stuff like that, they are polishing the actual tipping of the nib. And so it's not going to be anything that's going to make a notable difference in the way that it writes. It's an appearance thing. All right. Corey says, do you have received many complaints about Noodler's products these days? I recently fell down a rabbit hole reading some history of the brand and found some QC complaints about pen and inks from 5 years ago. Not so much. There's plenty of stuff out there on the internet because, Nathan historically has done some envelope pushing properties in his inks, or he's, had political statements in his inks years ago.
Nothing on it.
Years ago. Thanks, dear.
There's
Give
nothing
me some
on
makeup.
it, but whatever.
Okay. He, so he would catch a lot of flack for all kinds of reasons. And he had some people that were just outright kind of trashing his stuff, even if they hadn't used it. And, rumors on the internet can spread pretty well. So, the combination of all those different things made it so that a lot of people really kind of perpetuated rumors about Noodler's inks destroying pens, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, let's be real. He's been selling inks since a long time, 2003, I think it was, or something like that. So, over time, he's proven that, he has a lot of ink out there in a lot of people's pens. And every now and then there's, a weird interaction or something like that. But, nothing that you think you need to be overly concerned about. There's certain inks that are higher maintenance than others, for sure. But if you're using especially as conventional inks, I don't think you have anything to worry about. All right. But generally speaking, people don't complain about them as much as they used to. All right. Gunnar says, is there a possibility that the Peniter Avatar Deluxe will be offered with a stub quill nib like was offered with the La Grande Bellezza? That's a good question. I do not know. I don't know. I haven't heard. It's possible. I mean, it's a similar nib, so I would think it would be possible, but maybe they were just easing into it in demand. They weren't sure if it was going to be there for these pens, and they were just trying to keep the offering down as they were distributing these things. But it's possible. If we get a bunch of people asking, we'll ask them, and then of course, if everybody wants them, then they'll offer them because they are rather entrepreneurial that way. Okay, let's see here. Trip says, is there going to be different colors for the Diplomat Magnum? There's already a bunch of colors, 11 or 12 or something like that. Okay. Yeah, the hot pink and green ones are the newest ones. I have not heard of any other new ones that are coming out, but it's probably going to be more like next year when they would come out with more new ones if they wanted to. My goodness, Ellie. Really doing me up fancy here. All right. GB says, how in the world do you have so many pens at the ready? I can mention any pen and you whip it out in like 10 seconds. Do you have drawers filled with pens next to you? It's not drawers, but I do have several pen cases, one of which is, oh my gosh, very heavy. The Girologio 96 pen case. Yes, I did here. That's just the bag for my light. So I have the 96 pen case right here. So if I need to get something at the ready, boom. We get asked about a lot of the same pens, so I make sure to have a lot of the most popular ones at the ready. I also have pens laying on the table. I have 2 other pen cases over here. And then I have a pen stand with several pens. And then I have boxes of pens over here. So I have a lot of pens right at my disposal. And I know what they look like, so I can grab them very quickly. Okay, Charlie G says, would Goulet ever start selling pre-owned pens? We've talked about it. I'm not going to say no, never, but it's a whole different ballgame when you start doing pre-owned stuff. It's kind of like, well, it's a different ballgame, especially because fountain pens have been around so long. Pre-owned can mean a lot of different things. It can mean that it's 100 years old, or it could mean that it's 2 years old. So you have to really, really know the product. You have to really know what it is and how to vet it and possibly do repairs and stuff like that. It just requires so much knowledge and expertise that institutionally we probably don't have to feel confident to be able to sell a lot of pre-owned stuff. And, we would have to sell it at less than you would want to pay for new stuff, which means that we would have a lot of labor involved. We would not be able to sell it for as much, which means we would not be able to pay for it very much. So supply of it would be tough. It's the kind of thing that, my goodness, Ellie. All right, this is it, dear. This is it. I gotta cut it off, or she'll put that entire. She has a whole container over here of hair things that she wants to put on me. So yeah, I mean, we could theoretically get into some pre-owned stuff, but then it's like if somebody buys it from us and they have a problem with it, are they going to expect us to replace it or make it right? How do we really vet that? Do we need to certify it somehow? It just opens up a can of worms that we are just frankly not prepared. And a lot of our team, I mean, I've been doing the pen thing for 10, 11 years. Most of our team is not nearly that experienced, especially with older vintage stuff. So we just don't have like the institutional knowledge to really be able to, at any kind of a scale, sell pre-owned pens. So it is something I'm thinking about. I know that there's other retailers that do it, but a lot of these other retailers that I know that do it have been in the business for decades and decades and decades. And they have people that have been there for decades and decades and decades. In fact, they may have sold those pens new, a generation ago to whomever is then, retiring, or if it's an estate, situation, that kind of thing, somebody wants to offload the pens. That's probably more where those are coming from. And so you get that institutional knowledge. So I'm not going to say no, never, but it's probably not something we're going to do anytime soon. All right, let's see here. All right, what pens are available in Asia but not the US? I'm going to Hong Kong for a day. Was thinking about looking for something. Good question. I'm not super knowledgeable about what is available in Hong Kong but not here. I would say there's probably a lot of the Japanese brands that are available over there but not here, because it seems to be with all the Japanese brands, there's much more offering in Asia than there are in either North America or European markets. there's more than likely brands that I'm never even heard of over there that you might find. So I would say just go over there, see what looks cool, see what is in your budget, and see what looks like nothing else you've ever seen, and get that. That's kind of where I'd go with it. Or if you happen to have like a pen style that you really like, a vanishing point or something like that, and it's a color that you've just never seen, it's not something regularly available, I would pick it up immediately. All right, let's see here, but I hope you have a great time on your trip. All right. All right, Rohitpid, how does the Pilot Falcon nib compare to the Custom 74 and the 823? So the Pilot Falcon that we have technically has the soft nib. Pilot does make a Falcon with a not soft nib, which I imagine would write very similar to a Custom 74 and an 823. The 74 and the 823 really write quite similar. The 823 has just got a little bit bigger nib. Maybe it's a tiny bit softer, but both are pretty soft. They really write pretty similar overall. The Falcon nib is going to be much softer. You're going to get some line variation. That's going to be the biggest difference between them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The smoothness of the nib and everything feels fairly similar, though on the finer nibs, like the extra fine Falcon, it feels a little toothier to me. I think that's just because of the softness of it. It tends to make it feel a little bit toothier, but that's going to be the biggest difference. All right, let's see here. Okay, Plains Crafter says was it my bifocals or is the custom 823? Whoops, lost my place. Sorry about that. Oh my gosh, there's still so many more questions. Here, I was going to try and keep it short. It's 9:41 already. Daggone. Okay. Man, y'all just keep asking questions. Oh man, I've missed a lot of questions. Sorry. All right, I'm going to move it along. Was it my bifocals or was the custom 823 larger than the 1911 large? It's longer. Yeah, it's longer. Just a bit. But where are they? Here, they're right here. Just a tiny bit. So there you go. I'll hold them up so that the bottom are similar. Boom. Can you see that? So it's a little bit longer, maybe 5 millimeters or so. And then the girth. The grip section is going to be about the same in its diameter. You can see full technical specs on our website and compare the two. But yeah, it is just a little bit bigger. All right. Jonathan says, nice hair. Thank you very much. Skip says, you're a good daddy. Thank you. I legitimately have a very hard time talking while there's other things going on around me. So I basically did not pay any attention to what Ellie was doing to me while I was trying to answer your questions. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's see here. What else? Okay. Rebecca says, my son lives in Japan. Is there a Japan only pen that you would recommend for me to send him hunting for? This kind of goes to like the Hong Kong, visit question. It's really hard to say because a lot of the stuff that they do over in Japan, they'll do a lot of like retailer exclusives of like 100 pens that they don't talk about or show or photograph anywhere. I actually have a pen, a Sailor pen, King of Pens that I bought over there that is dark blue with translucent finials. That this was before we were carrying Sailor, but when I went to Japan last year, I saw that pen and I bought it because I knew that it was not something available in the US. And I'm glad I did because now I have it and I love the heck out of it. So yeah, it's hard to say because I honestly don't know what's over there. So you might have to just be in good communication with your son, have him send you some pictures or something as he's going around looking at some of these things. But generally speaking, he can ask, he can see if they have something that is like a retailer exclusive, that is it within your color scheme or whatever, your pen style. Certainly from the big three pen makers, Sailor, Platinum, Pilot. But there are likely other brands over there that I'm just not aware that could be really cool for you to find. So that's what I would do. There's also probably a lot of pens that have some Urushi work or maybe some Rodin inlay or something like that, some lacquer work, a lot of hand painted stuff. So sometimes they'll take like a regular pen and do some, Urushi embellishments or something like that on, relatively conventional pen. A lot of times those are retailer exclusives and things that you can't find elsewhere. So if you get any of those, just get it because they're super cool. All right, Snafu says, is Brian a cyclist? I do ride a road bike for exercise. I don't know if I would consider myself a cyclist because that I feel like you've got to be like an enthusiast. If you ask me about bike parts and brands and stuff like that, I just really don't know much. I ride for health reasons. I am an avid rider, though I ride 5 or 6 times a week. Shorter rides, 8-10 miles at a time. Nothing crazy. I do it more for just like the mental health and some physical exercise and just to enjoy scenery and get out and see the world a little bit. But so yes, I guess if by those standards you consider me a cyclist, but I don't follow bike racing. I don't participate in any races. I don't really ride with anybody else. It's all solo stuff. So there you go. However you like to define it, that's what I do. All right. David says, when are the kids going to do a field test and review of children's pens? I don't know. We'll see. I don't carry a lot of children's pens. They really don't sell well for us. So I don't know. Probably not that soon because I just don't have a lot of them. Matthew says, do you collect anything else other than pens and pen paraphernalia? Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Rachel will attest. I do have a bit of a compulsive nature. It's not just pens. So I have some, I do some amateur photography and I'll take pictures of our kids and stuff. I wouldn't say I collect photography gear, but I have a decent amount of photo equipment. I'm a Canon shooter. I have some of that. I do a lot of Rubik's Cube puzzles, and I have quite a few of them. I really enjoy puzzle solving, tactile stuff. I have a decent number of Lego Technic sets as well. I have, let's see here, what else do I have? Tools. I love tools, like woodworking tools. Those are pretty much my main categories of things that I kind of obsessively collect. But there have probably been other things in my lifetime that I've done that I'm failing to recall. But yeah, I'm a pretty serial collector. It's I've kind of fallen in the same group as everybody else. It's like, yeah, I'll collect things. All right. FYI, you letting Ellie decorate you during these broadcasts will be something she remembers for her whole life. How awesome of a dad she has. Thanks, Amanda. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness. I'm so torn because I'm trying to answer all your questions and I see them pouring in and I'm just endlessly behind, but I do want to entertain my daughter. When will the custom 845 be here? I'm not sure, Charlie. Not sure. Still kind of waiting on that, but later this year, I think. Not 100% sure on when because COVID has mucked up all schedules. Okay. All right, let's see here. 3 cheers for Rachel chiming in off camera. Yes, Rachel overhearing me asking the question. She knows more than I could ever know. She's got a great memory. All right. Shrish says, do I need to use an O-ring to convert a pen to an eyedropper? Generally speaking, it's a good idea if you can, but no, you do not have to. If the threads are tight enough, a little bit of silicone grease on those threads should be enough. An O-ring often is a good fail-safe to have in place, though. So you get a little bit of a belt and suspenders kind of situation if you use both O-ring and silicone grease. But when you're carrying around, a couple of milliliters of ink in your pocket or whatever, your backpack, purse, whatever bag, I think it's a good idea to have as many measures as you can in place to keep it from leaking everywhere. Okay, have you tried Indian fountain pens? Excuse me for mispronouncing your name. Have I tried them? Some. There's not a lot of them available in the US. There's not widespread distribution from Indian-made fountain pens. So I've tried a few. Siyahi is one brand that comes to mind. They're kind of a smaller boutique brand. There's others that I don't have a whole ton of experience with. Fountain Pen Revolution is one that gets brought up quite a bit. I have not used those extensively. And then, oh my gosh, there's another big one that I'm completely failing to recall. Manga. I've used those. And Magna Carta, sorry, not Manga, Magna Carta. I've had good experience with those as well. But other than those, I've not used a whole ton. Okay. Arc Image, any cool eyedropper pens coming out in the future? Not explicitly eyedropper that I can think of. Not that I can think of. Okay, let's see here. Okay. All right. Oh, see, now I'm catching up to all your comments from what I was talking about like 10 minutes ago because I'm super behind. John says, do you have a good recommendation for a daily use metal snap or magnetic cap pen with an ink window? Magnetic cap pen with an ink window. I think you might stump me on that one. Nothing is coming to mind. Not a single pen that I can think of that's magnetic cap and has an ink window. Correct me if I'm wrong. Technically, I guess you could consider some of the Peniter pens, some of the like limited edition ones, you know, because they have like cutouts in the body so you can see the ink level, like some of the mystery fillers and stuff like that. They are magnetic cap and you can technically see the ink, but you know, that's the only thing that comes to mind. Okay. All right. So Vision says, hey, thanks y'all for everything. Just got my VAC Mini and Blue Traveler's notebook. Well, you'll get a small selection of Bach number 8 nibs or carry any Ranga pens. Ranga is one I've heard of. I'm not aware of any distribution in the US, so I don't know how easy they would be to get hold of. And I don't have experience with them. So, you know, they're on my radar, but I've not used them. Selection of Bach number 8 nibs. So those are going to be bigger than number 6 nibs. Those I'm not aware of being sold separately. We do not have a relationship directly with Bach. There's brands that we carry that have Bach nibs, but I can't even tell you any brand, any pen brand that we carry that has a Bach number 8 nib on any of their pens. So it's not super common. So I don't know if we would be able to get those, but I'd be open to it, exploring it, because I do like those big nibs. Sean says, when will you be getting more nib options for the Twizy 580 All Prussian Blue? Website currently only lists 1.1 stubs in stock. So we just got restocked on those, and that's all that's left. So next time we get restocked, I don't know when that's going to be. But that would be the thing. Sign up for the email notification, like the email when back in stock, and then jump on it as soon as you get that email. So hopefully not too long, but I just don't recall off the top of my head when that restock would happen. All right. Eric says, what's the difference between a gold nib and a steel nib when it comes to writing? If all else is equal, gold nibs generally are going to feel a little bit softer, a little bit springier, maybe write a little bit wetter. But that's not necessarily a steadfast rule. So just gold is a softer metal in general than steel. So that would be the difference. Now that said, it's not a firm, fast rule that all gold nibs are softer than all steel nibs, etc. So it's a generalization. And if the nib shape and everything else is identical, the gold will be softer than the steel just because of the material. But you can have soft and flexible steel nibs and extremely firm and whatnot gold nibs. So you have to kind of get into each pen to really have that conversation meaningfully. But that's the general rule. All right, Jacob says, you've done videos about techniques for writing with stub and flex pens. What about flexible stubs? Are there any techniques unique to using those pens worth talking about? Not necessarily. I mean, generally speaking, if you have a flexible nib, you're going to need to follow the flex rules. So I would just consider that to be a flexible nib. If you have a flexible stub, it's just going to be slightly less forgiving in terms of its rotation, just like a normal stub would, the rotation of the pen in your hand. Because when you have a stub, you know, it's basically you got this shape going on. So if you're rotating it, you're going to have like one corner touching the paper, but not necessarily the slit of the nib. So you might break the capillary action, and that's just going to be exacerbated with a flex nib. So you're going to really make sure that you keep that thing aligned properly to the page. And then when you flex it, it's kind of dump a ton of ink. So that would definitely be the only thing. So you're going to end up with more of the rules of the flex nib on a flexible stub. All right. Any inks that resist smearing with highlighters? That's a great question. The short answer is yes, but I do not recall all of them right off the top of my head. Some of the ones that I know that are particularly good are the pigmented ones, like Platinum Carbon Black and the Sailor Kiwaguro. You know, those are going to be some of the good ones because they dry more on the top of the page. And they're going to be waterproof too. So, you know, other ones, it's going to be kind of hit or miss. I can't remember if we've done a blog post or anything on that years ago. It's a good question, though. I just can't recall right off the top of my head. All right. Chantal says, do you have many pens inked up right now? I don't know about many, probably a dozen or so, which is a pretty decent amount. I have cleaned some recently, but yeah, I have about a dozen if you consider that many. You said Ellie has excellent color coordination skills with her accessorizing. She really does. She has good taste. Okay, let's see here. Laura says, have you thought about stocking Ferris wheel press ink? We have thought about it. I've been in communication with them. COVID definitely disrupted things pretty hard. We were talking like at the end of last year going into the new year. We had just a ton on our plate coming off the holidays, and then COVID hit and just wrecked everything. So it's still on the table. It's definitely like a premium price product, and I think they're coming out of Canada, so there's like customs and stuff that have really been complicated. So I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but it's something that is on the back burner right now. All right, let's see. Madeline says, do you have a dark lilac or a Lamy violet to compare the Sailor Wicked Witch to? I don't have the dark lilac. I do have the violet, but it's all the way across the room. It's definitely darker than the violet. Let me see what I could possibly have that's purple that I could compare it to. I don't have much. I don't have any dark purple pens here with me at home, to be quite honest with you. I had the Monograppa Violet, if that means anything, but that's like way brighter and more magenta. I mean, you can tell the difference there. It's very, very dark. Very, very dark. One of the darkest purples I've ever seen. It's going to be a little bit darker than a dark lilac, but it's also shiny, so it's a little different, a little translucent. But I would say of the purple pens that I've seen recently, it's going to be closest to dark lilac. So if you like that general vibe, it's going to be pretty close to it. I don't have a dark lilac pen here at home with me, though. All right, let's see. Let's see here. Tim says, do you know of any Lamy Studio special editions coming soon? I have not heard of any studios coming soon. Joe says, who cleans? Yeah, studios usually come in the fall, but it's not a steadfast rule. Joe says, who cleans all those pens? It has to take a ton of time. Generally speaking, I do. I do have an assistant who helps me at work, but we're at home right now, so that's not happening. I'm cleaning them all myself. Okay, Nima says, for limited edition pens like the Visconti Caesar Firenze that have really, whoops, darn it. Every now and then it like jumps down to the bottom and I completely lose my place. There's just no way I'm going to catch up on these questions, everybody. So I'm really sorry. I'm just going to have to not answer a lot of your questions. It's just too much. You are just too curious about pens. And I don't go fast enough, apparently. Oh my gosh, I completely lost my place. Okay, for limited edition pens like the Visconti Caesar Firenze that have really small batches, how many pens do you as a retailer order to sell? It really depends. It depends on how many there are. It depends on how many come in. For something like that might be global, there may not be many that come into the US at all. And it might only be a few retailers who choose to order them or are given the ability to order them. So some of them, if they're really small batches like that, might be literally like 2 or 5 or something like that. Or it could be a few more. It really just depends. It depends on the color, the price, and how popular we think it would be and how much it would sell and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it can be really, really, really small numbers. I mean, we've ordered, it is tough though with nib sizes and stuff like that. Because, basically if you have 3 or 5 nib sizes, how do you order 2 pens? Like which nib sizes don't you order? So that gets tough, but anyway, it's always a bit of a guess. All right, let's see here. Laurie says, how do the Accra Lloyd Homosapiens limited editions compare and feel to the standard line? It's very different. The lava pens are hygroscopic, so they absorb some of the oil in your skin. It feels very grippy, not quite like rubber, not quite that grippy, and it doesn't get like, rubber. If you hold it for a while, it can start to feel kind of sticky. It doesn't feel like that at all. I am a huge fan of the lava. Homosapiens feel feels kind of like more like ebonite, if you're familiar with that material at all. The Accra Lloyd it's more like a resin. So, it's not the as quite shiny as and like slippery as just a conventional acrylic resin would be. It is like an acrylic kind of celluloid hybrid, but it's going to feel more like a resin pen. So it's a little smoother, a little more slippery if you have really oily fingers, but it's not really an issue for me. The thing that I do love the most, though, aside from the fact it's translucent, is also really cool, is the hook safe lock. So you get that cap, the hook safe lock cap on those resin Homosapiens. It just feels so good. It's just the best. All right, let's see here. All right, Totoro, how would you compare the Monograppa Flex nib versus the Piniter Quill nib? Heard a lot of good things about the latter. The Quill nib, so they call it a flex or hyperflex or whatever. I don't like to call it flex just because then you think like this thing should be really flexing out a lot. It's a soft writing nib, but it's not like huge degree of line variation. So the Monograppa Flex nib, that is going to be a little more of like the flexing out thing. So I would consider the Monograppa one to be more of what you would consider a flex nib. The Quill nib is going to be a really great writing, smooth, very springy nib, but it's not as much for the line variation. It's more for the soft feel. You do get a soft feel with the Monograppa one, but you can get a little wider line variation, if that helps. All right, Charlie G, how many Visconti pens do you have? 20 or so. I don't recall exactly. Maybe slightly more, 25, somewhere around there. But these are like, I've got Rembrandts and, Van Goghs and stuff like that. It's not all like crazy high-end stuff, but some of it is. Okay, Pengy, and I'm going to get going here in a minute. Is the all-black Lamy Studio less slippery than the normal studios? Is it comfortable to write with, or would you suggest the Ion instead? So the all-black Lamy Studio, if you're talking about the Studio LX, yes, because it has sort of that like rubbery grip to it, which I love. Same grip as what's on the stainless steel Studio. The brushed stainless steel looking Studio. So that I really, really like. That is going to feel more grippy than even an Ion. Now the Ion has that, it's a metal grip, but it's not a polished metal grip. So I love the Studios, but most of the Studios have like that super polished, very tapered grip. But the Luxe Black one, do I even have that? I swear I brought that home at some point. Do I have it with me, though, is the question. Yes. How convenient. So there you go. So it has that black kind of rubbery grip like that. Whereas regular Studio, it's like I prepared this ahead of time when I totally didn't. Shiny metal grip, right? So this one is going to be very fingerprinty. You're going to be slip sliding all over the place holding it. Still a great pen. I love it. But I have very oily fingers personally. So I love the feel of this grip. I wish it was on every single Studio. But it is on the Luxe Black, and then it's on the stainless steel one as well. There you go. All right. Any news on the Twizy 700 Rainbow? Not yet. It's coming. Okay. Oh my gosh, so many questions. I'm going to end up having to bail on most of your questions here at the end. I'm so sorry, everybody. Have I ever used a Schaefer snorkel before? Yes, I own one. They are some of the coolest pens that have ever been made. Big fan, but a nightmare to repair. All right. Do I know why the Noodler's Warden series tends to bleed? It has to do with the permanent properties of that ink. A lot of the Noodler's permanent inks, they absorb into the paper, and then they actually bond to the cellulosic fibers inside the paper. That's how they attain their permanence. So that's why they tend to absorb and bleed a lot. It's because of those permanent qualities. And the Wardens in particular are quite permanent. Will we be restocking the Sailor Pro Gear Mini? Yes. So there were just not a lot of them. We got shorted severely on our stock, even though we still went pretty light on them, but there just aren't a lot of them in the US to start with. They just started introducing them. So they're going to be getting more. They're going to be getting more, but they're just super limited in stock right now, just in general in the US. All right. Okay. Tejinder says, thanks for answering my question. I don't see a Vermilion Emperor in broad on the Goulet Pens website. If I order it now, will it be possible to get it in 2 months? I don't know. So maybe, probably not. They've been so behind on producing a lot of the Namiki pens that we have no predictions for what's going to be available. We basically wait until they have them. And the Vermilion Emperors, we've been super, super shorted on them for years now. I just wouldn't anticipate. If we don't have it in stock right now, I can't predict that we're going to have it even in 2 months. I would love to say that I could, but I'm just powerless to do anything about that. So if you can find it anywhere, get it. I'd love to sell it to you, but if we don't have it, I can't. So pick it up where you can. Madeline says, thanks for answering our questions. Oh, thank you. Enjoy your haircut. I will at some point. I'll have to take a picture like before and after because it's going to be crazy. We should like bag it up and like cast it into a pen or something. No, I'm kidding. That'd be weird. Oh, thank you for all your kind words, everybody. Yes, 1 p.m. tomorrow, Eastern time, will be the Wicked Witch. It's going to be good stuff. I think we should carry the Ink Studio. Yeah, I would love to. Rachel and I kind of talked about that last week. First off, it's 100 different colors in that line. It's been available to the like bespoke sellers, which are only certain brick and mortar stores. So, oh, it's brick and mortar, not bespoke. Okay, sorry, I misspoke. So it's been brick and mortar only. If they change their minds on that, we'd be all over it. So we'll see. As we're trying to build relations with Sailor and stuff like that, I'm hoping that we can have more opportunities for stuff like that. So, stay tuned. Who knows? You're very welcome, Christine. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with me for over an hour. Shrish says, can one get coloring refills, or should I just buy another ring? Good question. Do we have refills? Yeah, I don't think there are refills. I think they only make them just as the thing. They have that, and then they have like the Rolodex type, which is kind of a different thing. Same paper, but it's made to fit in a Rolodex product. But basically on the ring, you're just, refills would be that product just without a ring. So no, that's pretty much it. So there you go. Can you carry Colodex? We used to. It did not sell well. It did not sell well at all for us. So we just went with the rings. All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, I appreciate it. Wow, this was very rapid fire. I'm sorry for everybody whose question I did not get to tonight. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with me here. I'm going to enjoy my necklaces the rest of the night. Be sure to check out our site. We got a lot of cool stuff going on there. Good luck to all of you who are going for a Wicked Witch. It's a cool pen. And again, if you don't get one tomorrow, that's okay. There's going to be more. It just, might take a little bit. So anyway, there you go. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Right on. Have a good night.